So this week we're reading the Torah portion of Pinchas, and the Torah portion of Pinchas, according to the Zohar, is connected with healing. And healing occurs on 4 levels. So there's physical healing, emotional healing, mental healing, and spiritual healing. So we're going to talk a little bit about a practice that's a joint practice. We're going to take 3 different practices, and we're going to join them as one. I'll go through the steps of what the meditation is. So the first practice involves becoming aware of the inner colors. When you close your eyes gently, and you're not looking into a light or into the sun, there's going to be natural colors that come up. Now, of course, if it's the first time you're doing this, it's not going to mean anything because you're not familiar with the colors that you've seen before or you're going to see next time. But the idea is to become aware of the colors that come up. Whatever that color is, even if that color is blank and it's black, whatever the color is, to become aware of that color. The simple reason for this, and don't be scared if your color is very dark, is that according to the Ari, depending on your level of consciousness at the present moment, that's the type of colors that you want to see. So if you're in a more expansive and open place, the colors are going to be more transparent. If it's going to be darker colors, that means that maybe you're in a darker place. Now again, I mentioned this many times, that if you've never done this, and especially if you're looking into the light and you don't know what you're doing, don't pay any credence to what you're seeing. But the idea is to become aware of the inner color. That's going to indicate to you the level of your consciousness at the present moment. This is a very simple meditation. It's just awareness of the inner light that appears, and depending on the types of color and if it's more transparent or darker. There's another technique which is a little bit more complicated, which is connected with the 4 letters of the Yud-Hei-Vav-He. So we know that there's 4 letters in the divine name, in Hashem's name. There's the Yud, a He, and a Vav, and a He. So you have, a Yud is basically a point. It's a dot. A Vav is a line. So these are very simple structures. Alright, so you have a dot, you have a line, and then what you have is a He also, and a He is a horizontal line across, and a vertical line to the right, and a suspended, another vertical line to the left. Okay, so you have a dot, a line, and 3 lines. And it's pretty simple. Inwardly, these 4 letters, Yud, He, and the Vav and the He, correspond to the first level, which is Yud. In itself, the Yud has 2 points. It has the dot, and then it expands into something a little bit larger. So the point on top of the Yud is called a crown, or kites, a little stick. That inwardly represents our will and desire, which is also connected to our basic belief system. What our belief system is, and I'll explain how this works. The next step, the Yud itself, corresponds to our intuition. The upper He corresponds to our organizing principles. The Vav corresponds to how we actualize things, and the final He is how we complete things. Okay, so normally these 4 are also seen, or these 5 are seen as your will, Chachma, which is your wisdom, your intuition, Bina, which is your logic, which is the left part of the brain. The Vav corresponds to your emotions, but that's the way you actualize a thought. And then the final He is your Malchut, which is when you complete things. Now the reason why they're important to understand them in these 5 stages, which is your belief system, your intuition, your organization skills, actualizing and completing. Because the Ari is going to teach that if you could meditate on the 4 letters of Yud-Hei-Vav-He, let's say if I tell you just to think, close your eyes, imagine the 4 letters of Yud-Hei-Vav-He, and you can do this very simply, and one day you're having trouble, let's say, with the letter Vav, you can imagine, you can visualize a Yud, a point. You can visualize the Hey, but you're having trouble creating a Vav. That means that now in your life you're having a hard time to actualize things. So your intuition is very correct, you're very organized, but you can't actualize. If you're having trouble with the final Hey, that means you can actualize things and you can start good projects, but you don't know how to complete things. If you have a good Hey and it's very simply to create it, then you can complete things, but you're having a hard time actualizing things. And this is actually 5 basic steps in order to create anything that we want in our lives. The first thing that we need to have is a desire to create it. If we don't have a desire to create it, if let's say, let's say you want a new job. I wouldn't say you want a new job. Let's say you have a job, and it's a miserable job. And you think in your mind, it would be a nice idea if I had another job. You're never going to get another job. Because the first thing that you have to have is you have to have a desire that you want the other job. Then you're going to start looking for the job, right? So the first thing that we need to have is a desire for something, whatever it is that we want. Even if you want information, if you want to learn something, and you don't have a desire to learn, so no matter how many times you sit through classes and you don't have a desire to learn, the information is not going to enter. So the first thing you have to have is a desire to what you want to achieve. That's the first step. The second step is your intuition. And that's like in a creative process, it's your idea how you're going to come about. So let's say we'll talk about that you decide that you want to learn something new. So you have a desire to learn something new, to expand your horizons, to learn something different. Then you have a creative idea, an idea where you can go learn this information. That's the second step. And the third step is then you have to organize yourself to figure out how exactly you're going to get a ride to that place and what time exactly is the class that you can go, right? So if you're very good at organizing your life, but you have no ideas you have no creativity, then so you can organize, but you have nothing to organize. If you have very creative ideas and you don't have no organization skills, so you're left with a lot of creative ideas. So each of these on their own is really, it doesn't really help us anything, because if we have a desire for new, or desire to learn, or desire to relationship, or desire for anything, to change, a desire for anything that we want in our life, but we don't even have an inclination how we're going to achieve it, then nothing's going to happen. So the first thing is you have a desire, then you have an inclination, an intuition how you're going to achieve that desire. Then you figure out on the level of Bina is how exactly you're going to formulate a plan to achieve it. Then you're going to go ahead and start actualizing your desire. And then of course the hardest part in life is to finish things. Because you desire things, you have a good intuition, you organize, you go to the class, and you start the program, but you never complete things. So really these 5 stages is something that we all have. And the question is whether we have them in correct order, and if we have them in a correct way. So for example, we all have, we'll call our keter, we all have desires. Some person has a desire to eat, some person has a desire to wake up, some person has a desire to get dressed, but we all have desires. That's why everyone's sitting here. There's some type of desire that gets you to this place. That's the first thing. Sometimes our desires, our keter, our point of the yud, is not consistent with what we think we need in our life, which means it's not consistent with our chachma. Sometimes your chachma is not consistent with your desire. Sometimes your organizing, your bina, is not consistent with your chachma. Sometimes you're actualizing things in your life that are not consistent with what you think you should be actualizing. And sometimes you're completing things that you shouldn't be completing. Okay, so what the Ariz says is like this. We all know that everyone struggles with one of these issues. But the Ariz says that if we take the 4 letters of the Yud, the Hey, and the Vav and the Hey, and we try to meditate on them, and you do this, let's say, every day, and it's very easy for you to create the letter Yud, and then it's very easy for you to create the letter Hey, and very easy for you to the letter Vav, and then the letter Hey. And one day, you're trying to do this, and you come up with that Yud is easy, and the Hey is easy, the Vav is easy, but the final Hey is not easy. Then you know that you're in the right path, but you're not completing things. right? And that will be the same thing. Also, if you're missing the Vav, then you're not actualizing. If you're missing the upper Hey, then you're not organizing. If you're missing the upper Yud, then you're not having the right ideas. And if you're missing the little part of the Yud, then your desire is actually in the wrong place. Okay? Again, this is also going to be only relevant is if there's something that you actually tried doing it in a previous day and it worked. Right? If you start today and you say, I can't get the Yud right, I can't get the Hey right, I can't get the Vav right, I can't get the Hey, my whole life is messed up, doesn't mean anything because you never practiced. But if every day you've done this and Yud-Hei-Vav-He came out all clear, besides one letter, so the letter that's blotchy, that's unclear, and you have difficulties forming, that's the letter that is going to be connected with something that you have to achieve. This is meditation number 2. Okay, so the first meditation is become aware of the inner light, and the second part, which is really an independent meditation, an independent practice, is to take the Yud-Hei-Vav-He, try to form these letters, and see which letters are clear. If you add these two together, so you're also seeing the color. What is then the color that comes up? We'll see how we're going to do this. The third step, which is also a separate meditation, is to, in your mind's eye, to able to secure an image of the entire Yud-Hei-Vav-He, so you can see it from right to left, the Yud, the Hey, and the Vav and the Hey. You create them into a small image, and then you pass the Yud-Hei-Vav-He over your body. So you move the Yud-Hei-Vav-He. Let's say you start off from the way Reb Chaim Vital describes it. You'll start off on the top of your head, and you move it to the top of your head, and you move it to your forehead, and you move it over your eyes, your nose, your ears. You move it throughout, and you scan it throughout your entire body. If you have a secure vision, image of this Yud-Hei-Vav-He, and it's very clear to you, and while you're moving it across your body, at some point where you move it over the part of the body, it becomes unclear, and it's very hard to hold that image. So the Arizal said, then you'll know that in that part of the body there's something that's amiss, that maybe there's some illness or something that needs a little correction on a physical level, and therefore the Yud-Hei-Vav-He is not appearing on that part of the body. Again, this is only if you can do this very easily. If you can take the Yud-Hei-Vav-He, you can move throughout your body, and it moves very quickly throughout the body, and one day you're having trouble with your left leg, then you say, okay, maybe I should check on my left leg. This can also be done when you project it onto somebody else. So you can actually take the Yud-Hei-Vav-He, and let's say you have someone sitting in front of you. If you can secure an image of the Yud, the Hey, and the Vav, and the Hey, and then move them across the other person's body, scan them on the other person's body, then you can also do the same practice that you do for yourself, you'd actually do for another person. Okay, so these are 3 practices. We're going to do them all in one order. And in order to do this in one order, this is what we're going to do. The first idea is, and this is a very simple practice, is to become aware of the inner color that appears in your mind's eye. This inner color that appears in your mind's eye is always present. It's the color it's the natural color. Whatever the natural color is something that comes up. And the intention is to focus a few moments just on that color. Whatever that color is to focus your attention on it. Not to create any patterns, and not to try to force a certain color. Let's say you're seeing black and you say, I should really be seeing yellow or something. No, whatever comes up, just whatever the color is focus your attention on that natural color. When you're focusing your attention on that natural color, because your mind is not filled with any thoughts, it's very possible that other things are going to come up. Other thoughts are going to come up, like, for example, what exactly am I doing? And could I focus my attention on this? And what am I having for dinner? So what you have to just do is very simply observe the thought that comes up, say hello to it, and just let it pass, and go back to your focal point, which is going to be the natural color that comes up. Okay, that's going to be the first part of the meditation, which is something we can do every day, just to become peaceful and quiet and see what rises up naturally. Then what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to move this into the second part of the practice, which is we're going to take the natural color that comes up and try to condense it into a small little point. So if there's colors that are all around, and you're seeing all different types of colors, so here you're using intention to bring that into a small point. Okay? That's going to be your creating the dot, which is going to be the letter Yud. Okay, so you're going to create the Yud through your own natural colors. So you're not going to form a Yud and with, write a Yud, but you're going to take the actual colors and condense it until you get to a point. That's going to be the Yud. And you're going to focus on this for a few moments to recognize whether it comes easy, whether you can do this easily. Could you create this point? You'll also have to notice to see if there's anything that's reaching up from on top of the Yud. So you're going to create a dot really with a little point on top. See if that comes easily, if you can create that easily. Okay, you're going to hold that for a few moments to become aware of the color and whether it was easy to create this Yud. Then what you're going to do is you're going to expand this ball, or this little dot, into a line, okay? Into a horizontal line. You're going to extend one leg to the right and a suspended leg to the left. You'll know how hay looks. So you move a horizontal, then you move vertical, and you're creating hay. So you're creating from this little ball, you're creating a line, and then you're dropping it. So the right is going to be one leg, left is going to be another leg. It's a very complicated thing to do, but if you can do it, if there's complication to create it, because it's just very hard to visualize, then obviously that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about if you could visualize it, it's very simply to visualize. If you ask yourself, can I visualize a hay? You close your eyes, you can write a hay, you can close your eyes, you can see it, and then when you're going to try to create it, you're going to have a hard time. Then we can assume there's something wrong in creating the hay. Okay, so you try to create the hay. The Yud is going to be, the top of the Yud is going to be your desires. The Yud itself is going to be your intuitions, your creative ideas. The Hay is going to be the way you're organizing your life. Are you making the best of your time? Is your life in order? Whatever your order has to be. You have an idea, you have a desire, I want to be this, I want to be that, whatever your desire. Everyone has a desire. What's the reason why you get up in the morning? That's your basic desire. We're not going to change it. Whatever it is now, just think about what that is. And see if you can create the hay, which is going to be, how am I organizing my life? Am I spending the most time correctly? Am I doing the right thing for my time? Am I wasting too much time? Try to create that hay and see if you have the organization of your life correct, in order. Then take the letter hay and then collapse it back into a line. And that's going to be pretty simple. So you take it and you move it, you're creating it back into a line. That is the letter Vav. That is the letter Vav. What we're going to do with the letter Vav, the letter Vav is actualizing. So if you're having trouble creating this line, that means your life is very organized, you have very great ideas, and you have correct intuitions and correct desires, but somehow you can't actualize what you're doing. That's the letter Vav. If you can create the letter Vav, then we're going to take the Vav and then turn it. Instead of being vertical, we're going to turn it to horizontal, and then we're going to create two legs, and that's going to be the final hay. That's going to be the aspect of completion. Do we start things and don't complete them? Do we have the right desires for things and the right intuitions? And we want to do the right thing. We start all these things, but do we actually complete the things that we want to start? That's the final hay. If we can do this, this is going to be a little bit, it's going to be a little difficult, but if you can do this, we go from Yud to Hay to Vav to Hay. So at any point during the practice, you're only meditating on one letter, right? You're only thinking of the Yud. Only the Yud is in your head. Only the Hay, only the Vav, only the Yud. And all your attention is just focused onto that letter, right? So that's going to be pretty simple because it's one letter. Now what we're going to try to do, we're going to go to the third part of the practice, is we're going to try to create Yud-Hei-Vav-He all simultaneously. So you'll have a Yud to the furthest point of your vision, next to it a Hay, next to it a Vav, and next to it a Hay. Right? So you're going to have Yud-Hei-Vav-He, all four letters together. This is a little bit more complicated. Okay, but we'll try to see if we can do this. So first you have the Yud and it flashes, you're just seeing it. Right? You're creating the Yud. All the internal colors that come up is creating a ball. It's creating a point. That's the Yud. then you're moving into a Hey, then you're moving into a Vav, then you're moving into a Hey. Now what you're going to try to do is see them one after the next, Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, and slowly try to get them together. So not just Yud, and then a Hey, and then a Vav, then a Hey, but Yud, and a Hey, and a Vav, and a Hey. If you can do this, and you can hold these 4 letters together, the next step will try to be is to move the letters across and scan them across your body. So we're going to start with the crown of the head and move to the bottom of the feet. And this is what we're going to try to achieve in the next few minutes. So is it pretty much clear? It's going to have to be guided, but yeah.
So